The title of this, I have this title page every single time. This time it's Trump's first debate victory. And that has two meanings. The first is that, last night was the first debate of this cycle. But the second is it's actually his first general debate victory in the minds of the voters ever. 2016, Hillary Clinton won all the debates. Last time around, Joe Biden won all the debates. Here's the first debate winner margins dating back to 2012. Look here. Mitt Romney won by 42 points. Hillary Clinton just won by 13. Joe Biden, last time around, won by 32. Look at this. This year is the exact inverse of where we were 4 years ago. Donald Trump won this debate by 34 points by a 67 to 33% margin. So the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump's performance last night was the best performance he ever put forth in the American voters' minds on a debate stage, or it could be argued that Joe Biden's debate performance was so bad that he managed to make Donald Trump actually look good.
With that 34-point lead, does this mean, can we just go ahead and assume that this is going to give him a bump when it comes to what voters will do?
History isn't always precedent, but in this particular case, poll bump after winning the first debate, look at this. Joe Biden last time around got a poll bump. Hillary Clinton got a poll bump in 2016. Mitt Romney, after winning the first debate, got a poll bump in 2012. And in 2008, Barack Obama got a poll bump. And if you look on average across those four different first debates, guess what? The person who won the debate gained 4 points on average. And of course, at this particular point, what we were dealing with going into this particular debate, if you looked at that CNN polls yesterday, Donald Trump was already ahead by 2 points. So if you apply that, you could end up, if history holds, on average, you could be looking at a mid-single-digit lead for Donald Trump. And you know what? Again, we're talking about unprecedented debate performances for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, outside of the convention after the RNC in 2016, has never held such a large lead as this could potentially end up being if history holds. Of course, history isn't always precedent. We don't know what exactly will happen. But if you're looking back at history at this point, this history is very bad for the man who won the first debate 4 years ago.
So that's potentially a 6-point lead with a guy who typically outperforms what his polls actually say. Case in point, 2016, Hillary Clinton had a lead in the polls. We all know who won that one. 2020, Joe Biden was supposed to have a massive lead. Some polls show double digits. He barely won, and that one's, did he actually, right? But the polls were saying that he had this massive lead. And so, I always go back to something that Trump said, and I believe this was even before I was even really paying attention. No, maybe it wasn't. But anyway, I always go back to this line that Trump said before, and you guys will probably remember it. He said the silent majority. The silent majority. A lot of Trump supporters, even still to this day, now granted, there are a lot more like myself who are open and honest about their Trump support, but I still do feel that there are a lot of folks who support Trump, but just won't say it out loud. And if they're polled and asked, they'll probably just say Joe Biden, just so, to keep things copacetic, to keep the peace, right? I feel like for some folks, it's just easier just to say whatever and vote for Trump on the day when it actually matters than to, especially like in a workplace, right? We know how Trump deranged some of these folks are. And, folks got to put food on the table. So, of course, especially like in a workplace or something, like if you're asked, hey, Trump or Biden? All right, well, I feel like the safe choice would be Biden. So I'm going to say Biden. Yeah, Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for Biden. Knowing darn well you're not voting for Biden at all. But it's just a safe thing to say so you don't rile up anything in your workplace. Now, it's unfortunate that that kind of stuff happens, but I can almost guarantee that it does. As a matter of fact, I know somebody. Oh, goodness gracious, the stories I've heard. I know someone who was in that situation. They work with a bunch of Biden supporters. They aren't. They're Trump supporters. So whenever there's discussions, they just kind of stay quiet. And if they're asked, they just, yeah, Biden. But they ain't voting for Biden, But I feel like that kind of plays out on a larger scale across the country as well. And even in some of the polls. So if he has a 6-point lead, it's probably double digits. But let's continue.
History as a guide,
Correct.
as we all say. Have an incumbent in the past face something like what is happening with Joe Biden now. What has that meant for them?
Nothing good. Nothing good, Sarah Seidner. Nothing good for them. All right, incumbents who trailed prior to and then lost the first debate: Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Well, we don't know what's going to happen this year, but we know what happened with the three other guys. And you know what happened with them? They were one and done. They all lost re-election. And at this particular case, Joe Biden, you're looking at those polls right now, looking at those post-debate polls, looking at that Democratic panic. There's really no good news except for the fact that, fortunately for Joe Biden, the election isn't today or tomorrow. It's in November, because he's going to need that time to make up for what was a historically bad performance for the current president of the United States.
We should also mention there is also another debate. There is a lot of debate amongst those watching as to whether that is actually going to happen. So we will wait and see.
We're going to have to wait and see. But last night, there was nothing good for this man.
All right.
Nothing good. And it's not going to end well for Joe. Even pollster Frank Luntz, who we've checked out previously in the past, actually several times now, because he's been coming out and been saying some pretty interesting things as well, like this clip right here. Check out what Frank Luntz had to say about the Trump versus Biden debate.
Frank, what did you think?
In my entire professional career, I've done 32 debates. Never has someone performed, and I was very upset with Donald Trump in 2020. I have never seen a performance like I saw last night. My focus group all came in undecided, all from swing states. 12 of the 14 swung to Donald Trump, only one to Joe Biden. We've never had that before. We are truly in uncharted territory. And what blew me away the most was that Joe Biden voters in 2020 don't want him on the ticket in 2024.
What the reaction? You had 14 swing voters from these states.
All undecided, all voting Republican and Democrat back and forth over the last 10 years, and boy, did they swing.
So let's see. You hosted that focus group. Why don't we hear what they had to say? Let's listen in.
He does not have the leadership qualities to survive for the next 4 years. I don't even know how he's going to survive the next few months. They need a candidate that could beat Trump.
Well, back then, he was an unknown to me, really, at the time, and I had seen what Trump had done. And now that I've seen him in action or inaction, I just think if the Democrats want to have a chance at putting someone in the White House, they need to put someone else up.
I think in 2020, Biden was a safe option that was relatively non-harmful to replace Trump. And frankly, I didn't think reflected these same cognitive issues that we see tonight on the campaign. Yeah, it was a little dry, but it was definitely not to the same extent. I think tonight, I'm not sure how he functions during an 8-hour workday, let alone an 8-hour workday or 8+ hour workday as president of the United States.
So yeah, it ain't looking good at all. It's not looking good at all. And, the unfortunate part about all of this is that the Democrat establishment did this to themselves. They did this, so, hey, you made your bed. Now lie in it. That's the way that I see it. And honestly, well, I'm going to save what I'm going to say for another video. Because there's a whole lot more I want to say about that. But yeah, man, the obvious reaction to what we all got to witness the other night is, Trump, easy, not even close, by a country mile, more than a country mile, more like a country 50 miles, right? Not even in sight. You know what I mean? You can't even see anything else. The only way that I would see anybody supporting Joe Biden at this point, let me say it this way. If people are still supporting Biden at this point, this just proves that they are in a cult. The same thing that they've been accusing the right of being, right? Because we're a cult, I guess. No. It's Democrats that are in a cult. If you watched what we all watched and you still say, yes, I'm voting for that guy, you're in a cult. You are. 100%. 1,000%. Because there's another option, right? So if you still support that guy, if you're still voting for that guy, you're in a cult. But that's just my opinion on it. Y'all let me know yours in the comment section, all right? Safe to say, it's basically over. Now it's just all about, getting to the finish line and showing up when we're supposed to show up. If that's early, right? Hey, vote early. If you know that, hey, there's a chance that something may happen, around that time, the weather, or I may have to work, do it early. Because we've seen, I believe this was Arizona, we've seen things go awry on the day of, aka voting machines going down. Yeah. And just imagine you get there, right as they're, getting ready to close, and all of a sudden, all the machines go down. Well, what do you do now? Because the only other polling place is 30 minutes away, and it's only 10 minutes until close. So you're not going to make it there. So what do? You know what I mean? So if you got to do it early, do it early. If you want to show up the day of, show up the day of. Whatever. But we have to show up. That is the only thing that could derail this entire thing. And honestly, I'm a little worried about it. Yes, I know most of you, basically all of you, are going to show up when the time comes. I'm worried about everybody else. Because they're witnessing all this good news, this great news, and I think there are going to be some folks, and I hope they aren't. If you know some folks, make sure you're encouraging them and letting them know, hey, we still got to show up. All this good news doesn't matter if we don't show up, So, hey, make sure you're letting them know. I know it may sound, like a childish thing, but it's true. Like when you're hearing all this great news, I'm sure we can all imagine folks are saying, I don't need to show up. We good. I'm about to sit back, crack open a few brews, and just wait for the news to be announced. Okay? We want it. You get enough people that do that, and all right? So we got to make sure we show up. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Peace and love. I'm out.